So we're doing things a little bit differently today.
Okay.
We have listened to one of our listeners.
Yes. And we took some advice.
We're giving it a go.
Yeah, we're giving it a go.
We are doing the introduction at the end.
And I'm all confused.
I'm a little bit confused. It's hard work, isn't it? I forgot what we've talked about. But the podcast today is Science versus Skeptic versus Simplicity. Myself and Thomas, we talk about the science of nutrients in hydroponics and the skepticism around nutrients and how to keep things simple. Thomas is the simple skeptic and I was the scientist. If this sounds of interest to you, stay tuned. We also had a bit of a half-time break, didn't we?
Yeah, we had a half-time.
Yeah, we went back over innovate or imitate, and we've made some. We've had a discussion on Facebook, and we've got an approach, haven't we, to what we discussed on innovate or imitate with regards to plug and grow.
Yeah,
a good outcome for everybody.
Yeah,
and at the end, we have also made an announcement at the end of the podcast. So
declaring war.
Yeah. Declaring war on people.
So stay tuned and
have a little listen.
Yeah, that's at the end of the podcast, so stay tuned and find out who we're declaring war on.
Enjoy. Hello everybody, how are you? We're doing well. I'm doing well anyway. What about you?
Yeah, I'm doing not bad. Welcome back to our NPK podcast.
Episode 67. We're starting a new series today, as we promised last week. Science versus Skeptic. But I've also added a nice little extra in here for Thomas, Simplicity. Thomas is going to be the simple skeptic.
Yeah, a nice simple skeptic.
Septic. You have to get that looked at. Now, the science versus skeptic versus simplicity. Man and Thomas's take on our different beliefs on hydroponics. I'm very scientific based, but I also have skepticism and I do believe in simplicity. Thomas, as you probably know,
I am very skeptical.
And very simple.
Yeah, in more ways than others. Some people say to me, but I think that's another podcast in itself.
But Thomas also has an affinity for the scientific method as well. But I will be playing the scientist. Thomas will be playing the skeptic. And we're going to go from there.
Yeah.
Also, Thomas, what we say might not be our complete and honest opinions. We're playing roles in this little mini series.
Yeah, we're role playing today. We're just trying to give you a few different variants.
Angles
on hydroponics as a whole, scientifically, simply, and
skeptically. Not septically.
No, is that even a word? It is a word.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. So we're just going to investigate some things through that mindset.
Good stuff. Well, first of all, this series is going to start off on nutrients. It's a really easy topic to talk about for me and Thomas. We do it.
Series or episode?
We'll call it a mini-series because it won't just be this one episode. Occasionally we will dip into Science versus Skeptic, and the title will let you know that me and Thomas are taking on roles to give you probably other people's opinions, not just ours. We're going to try and think of what other people believe in the industry. To start, get the definitions out the way, the boring shit. So science, the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behaviour of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment.
This is where I want to come in here with simplicity. So
Well, I knew you were going to say that. Even I read that out and thought, oh, fucking hell.
Sounds like I was back in university then, at that part where you just thought, just nodding off. And then they shout your name, you think, shit, what was that they just said there?
I looked up that definition, I thought, that's heavy, that definition, that boggles my mind. So I have written, in other words, we like to test shit to see if it works, prove or disprove theories, and learn about the world around us, providing a systematic body of knowledge on a particular subject. In this case, hydroponics and horticulture. So that's the science definition. What is your definition of a skeptic, Thomas?
Well, my definition of a skeptic is a person who questions or doubts accepted opinions.
Ah, you play that role very well.
Yeah, I like to question fucking everything, even... Well, as you know, when we were in university, Stephen, I was always the one that was in the class, even when we was having a discussion, I would always play devil's advocate. I would always go against everybody else. And I used to do that because, not necessarily because I agreed and I thought what I was saying was right. I used to do that to play devil's advocate, to ignite a discussion, because I really enjoy discussions. And what you find is when it's a group of people, a collective, you'll find a lot of different bits of information will start to arise from that discussion, and a lot of different viewpoints, which can make it really interesting. And you know that you're going to investigate every possible aspect throughout that discussion, i.e. if I then say, well, I don't think that's right, everybody else will then jump up with their reasons why I'm wrong, which is really good for me to understand. Especially, I like to play devil's advocate on something that I'm interested in. So, for instance, if there's a new bottle of feed out and everybody's saying it's great, it's super, I'll say, well, I don't think it is. Then everybody else will jump on me to tell me why it is. So then basically I can just take in all of their points like a sponge and utilise that to my personal benefit. Yeah. Top tip for what I do.
So in university as well, there was a lot of meek people. There was a lot of very shy people when we were in university. Safe to say Thomas was definitely not one of them.
No.
So when you brought up an opinion, like you say, not necessarily your own, and it was alternative to everybody else's opinion, then they somehow felt the confidence to jump up and say, oh, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
And then they would give their opinions, and it was good. I remember having some really good debates in university.
Plus as well, I don't know whether you knew this one though, Steve, the reason why I always used to do that as well, because it made us do less writing, because we used to make the lectures go on for that long, and we'd never have to do any homework or anything like that. So it used to get us, I used to love it.
So to give you a bit of an overview then on what we're going to do here, we're going to look at the world of hydroponics and question whether what we currently believe to be true is actually true. That's Thomas's part. And then to see if there's any actual evidence for those opinions or beliefs that we hold. And if not, how can we go about getting more evidence? How can we go about testing those opinions and those beliefs? That's my part. But Thomas, as we said at the beginning, has a nut job. He's playing the role of the simplicitist. I've just made that word up. The simplicitist.
Sounds good.
Yeah. If science proves that it is in fact better to use, say, 50 bottles to grow the juiciest tomato, as opposed to just using the 5-bottle procedure, but there's only a little bit of a difference between using 50 bottles and 5 bottles, science has proven, yes, the 50 bottles produces a tastier tomato and a heavier yielding tomato, but the actual difference is not massive.
For myself, being a simple guy, you know, if there's not that much difference, I'd rather go for the simpler option. 5 bottles makes it easier to control and monitor, rather than having to mess about with 50 bottles for hardly any difference.
Yeah, less costly as well for the end consumer as well. So that's an example of what we're going to be doing in the series. But we're today talking about nutrients, what the skeptic says and what the scientist has got to say on the matter. So enjoy. So I'm going to give you an introduction into what we currently actually really do know to be true. Science has proved it. It's been around in agriculture for many years, and that is the really simple stuff. Plants require nitrogen in the early growth for the production of chlorophyll and for the leaves to be green and for nice luscious growth. An extra phosphorus and potassium in the middle of the flowering stage for the fruit-bearing plants. And sugar boosters, it's common knowledge that the sugar boosters, the metabolism enhancers do work in the industry, but that's where we come a little bit unstuck because it's all observational. Although 1,000 people have used metabolism enhancers and boosters and they all say that they work, there's not any scientific evidence. CANNA may have done some trials at their research facility, but they don't publish it. They keep that data locked away and they use that for testing new products and adding on to their current range. But there's been years of research into agriculture industry, and they're the type of stuff that we know. What don't we know? What PK ratio is the best ratio? When do we add PK for best uptake? Which sugar boosters are really the best, and are they worth it? Microbial enhancers, and how effective are they? Nutrient interactions, such as when you use bit of extra calcium and magnesium when you add in your PK. Does it actually work for enhancing PK uptake, or is it just to prevent deficiencies? These are all questions that need investigating and answering via the scientific method, in my opinion. But Thomas, what do these people that are listening now, this will take years to get hard, concrete evidence. What do the people do until these investigations have been done? What's the best approach?
Well, to be honest with you, skeptically, do we need to use all of that stuff? You know, I personally, I know a lot of people who just use minimal base feeds. they chop and change. 1 minute they might be using one brand, the next minute they might be using the next brand, and they say they don't see much difference. I've got a couple of people who say, boosters? What are boosters? I've never used a booster in my life.
Yeah.
That doesn't... And my plants are fine. You know, so skeptically, I challenge a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Is it? Or is this all just a marketing ploy to make the customers buy endless amounts of bottles? Because, if you don't have this bottle in week 1, the plant might not survive till week 3. I don't think that's actually correct because, to be honest, I've been to Jamaica. I've seen a lot of people growing out there and they don't use any nutrients at all. And what I do see is a plant that seems deficient. It has yellowed leaves. However, they have an end produce. So then it leaves me in that sort of frame of mind. Well, it can't be that bad if you can still have an end produce. So always reverts me as well back to, is it a market employee? Add all these colourful bottles and things that you must do from this week and that week, and where is the scientific evidence? Where is the journals wrote on all of these tests with all of these individual nutrients and ingredients and George's bloody marvellous medicines? You know, you could be there forever. You walk into our shop, Stephen, and we've got row upon row upon row of nutrients, and we have done as much testing as our lives can possibly fit in. But at the end of the day, I still use only a good base feed. And I do use a sugar boost. Personally, I use Explode. And I use a CANNA A and B.
Why is that? Why out of all the PKs
One
out
word,
there...
simple.
Yeah. And so for the people that are looking for simplicity in their lives, they should follow your...
They don't necessarily need to use what I'm saying, but there is other simple methods out there. Yeah. Now, you know what I'm like, Stephen. I'm not the one who's going to sit there and read all of the novels and the literature. That is you. Yeah. You know, when we was in university, I was the one who was running out to the library and you was the one who was running in. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But that's what makes us so unique now, because we got the best of both worlds. But I never will be that person. I never will be the person who's going to read a well-writ literature book and follow a 50-bottle regime to the milliliter. Yeah. It's not happening. It's not me, unfortunately. And to be honest, I don't care, because you can do that on behalf of the shop, and I'm happy with my results. Yeah. I always am happy with me results from being simple in what I do. Don't get me wrong, I don't veer off the fact that I need to adhere to all of the accuracy to make my simplicity work. Yeah. Don't remove simplicity for error. Yeah. That's a big key. Yeah. Yeah. Simplicity still needs to work. It's just simple because it's an easier form of what
we do.
Yeah.
Accurate simplicity.
Yeah. And the only reason being is because, as I say, there's 1,000,001 nutrients and different additives, and in all fairness, if we started now, I think it'd take all of our lifetime to probably go through all of these nutrients. Yeah, it's a lifelong study, I believe.
It is, and that's one of our personal missions at NPK. What we want to do is improve the scientific method, the scientific procedure. We want to start testing. We don't just want to believe what the marketers tell us. Do you want to believe what somebody who's got all they have to gain from selling their wares is profit?
Yeah.
There's very few people, and we're going to talk about this at the end of the show as well. We're going to make a little bit of an announcement at the end of the show. I won't say there's a few people, but there's a hell of a lot of people that don't give a shit about what they're selling. They're purely out to make profit. They are business driven. They are marketing led. They are a director full of shares, and they're just out for profit.
And they are sales reps with a company car, with a fuel card, with a set of spreadsheet, with a list of shops. Ours is always on that list, because we are a shop that's moving forward, and we do investigate. And don't get me wrong, we get these sales representatives in our shop, and very quickly cull them out from either being a certified grower and part of our team, as we'd call it, in the gang, or a shirt and tie sales representative. Now, very quickly, within 5 minutes, we will have determined that from once they come into our shop. And we won't always just dismiss the shirt and tie sales representative. However, if he then begins to tell us how to grow, and then we find out he's never grown a daffodil in his life, we quickly show them the exit sign for the shop for them never to return.
Honesty is key if you're a rep in this industry.
So be warned.
Yeah. So, until these investigations are done, according to Thomas, personal testing and going with what works for you. Thomas likes to keep it simple but accurate. If that approach appeals to you, then that's what you should do. But
also keeping it simple as well doesn't mean you have to stay on the same simple thing forever. So Stephen, he likes testing, so he would have some big crazy setup with all different things going on at the same time, and all a big list of notes and memos and sticking notes hanging off the end of his cap and all of that stuff. Me personally, I would just have, if I had 5 plants, I'd get one of them, I'd put it next to the tray, I'd do the exact same stuff and just change one thing.
Yeah.
And that's simple testing for me.
Yeah.
And that's what I did do. And a long time ago, I was using different products and eventually moved to what I'm on now. And that's how I went about doing that. I'd done some simple tests.
Simple, but still scientific in their basis. And the approach that you seem to have taken, trial and error.
Yeah.
So some things may not have worked for you in your circumstances. Some other products will have worked very well for you in your circumstances.
Well, also, as you very well know, working with me in university, what you always found, Steve, I was a visual learner. I was not the one for being in the library. I struggled with that quite a lot, and thanks to yourself helping me out and stuff like that. But I was always very visual and hands-on type of learner, and that's why within growing and hydroponics, that's been amazing for me, because I'll do things, come back the next day, oh, plant's dead, I won't do that again. So, you learn pretty quickly like that.
One of the things that you did well, and this is a little bit of a knock against the theory type of learning and the scientific approach, is for those that don't know, me and Thomas are really into our mountaineering, our climbing, and one of the knots that we tie when we're mountaineering is called a bowline hitch.
Yeah.
I always struggle to do this because if you read any book...
It took me 3rd attempt on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I still couldn't do it on another person.
Yeah.
I had to do it.
The bowline always got me, always. I'm still on my figure of 8.
Yeah.
But I could read a book, I could read 10 books in a day and learn how to do it, and then it comes out to doing it in the field and you go, now does the rabbit's ear go through the hole or out the hole?
Yeah, I know there's a rabbit somewhere here. It's either in the hole, out the hole, looking at me round the corner.
Yeah, but what Thomas did, because we were climbing and mountaineering partners, is he didn't read any books. He just looked at the knot, how to tie it, tried it a few times, and it seems to have been ingrained in Thomas a lot more than me. It's always Thomas reminding me how to tie the bowline when we're out in the field, and I've read every book that you can read on bowline hitches. I still can't remember the knot. So there's a little, science isn't always right, and the theoretical method of learning isn't always correct either. Sometimes practical hands-on knowledge is king, and if you can apply the two together, theory and practice, you've got the NPK team, and it works well. I'm going to jump forward and talk a little bit about the science, because I can get me little scientific quips in here about it.
I'll go sleep a second.
I'll wake you up when I'm done. Now, what I want to move on to is a bit on the PK fertilisers, those boosters that you use in the middle of flowering. The reason being, because plants need that extra bit of phosphorus and potassium when they come into flowering. They don't need a lot of it when they're in veg because they're small plants, but as your plant grows bigger and bigger, the requirement of nutrients increases. Base nutrients tend to all of those needs, but what you need to add a lot of is phosphorus and potassium. Again, it's not been proven within our industry. It's probably been proven within agriculture, but I struggle to find those papers on short notice. But for the scientists out there, or those that are interested, potassium acts like a bit of a catalyst for carbohydrate metabolism. So if they don't get what they need with regards to potassium, the amount of sugar reduction slows down, and your plants can have a pretty hard time storing up the energy, and they need that energy for the fruit and the flower development. Your plant growth stalls, and the quality of your end produce declines rapidly. Phosphorus is a macro element as well as potassium, and it's the key role is in metabolism and energy transfer in the flowering phase. So phosphorus strengthens cell formation of flowers as well as a lot of other things. So that's why they're important in flowering. Now, what people get confused with is the ratios. It confuses me sometimes, so I've tried to break it down as simple as possible. We'll talk about CANNA, because everybody knows them, and their PK 1314 is everywhere. Now, PK 1314, in the UK, it's 1314. In the US, I believe they use weight to weight. I might stand corrected on that, but I think it's 10-11. Their ratio in the US is 10-11 PK. It's exactly the same. It's just a different. It's weight to weight volume and weight to volume ratio. So you can look into that if you're interested.
I won't be looking at that.
The PK 1314, what it means is there's 130 grams of phosphorus, P2O5, and 140 grams of potassium in the form of K2O per litre of nutrient formulation. That's for those people who are interested in how much phosphorus and potassium goes into the PK. And in PK 918, which is another ratio that is used quite widely.
That's by Budder's Tree.
But yeah, the most common one in the UK is Budder's Tree. More commonly, it's becoming more common in the US as well.
Yeah.
Doing really well over there. They have like a 1-to-2 ratio, a bit more potassium than phosphorus, and the dosage there is 1/4 ml per litre. Now, I've got this off the CANNA website, so it's biased towards what CANNA want you to believe, but it was a good description. So what this means for the 918 ratio is there's 90 milligrams of PTO5, which is phosphorus pentoxide, and 180 grams of K2O, which is potassium oxide, in each milliliter of water. So if you apply 1/4 ml per litre, you are providing 22.5 milligrams of extra phosphorus pentoxide and 45 milligrams extra potassium oxide on top of what is provided in the formulation for the flowering phase. That is really hard to listen to and enjoy.
It's all very good, yeah, but I don't use PK.
Which one is better? Is there a now the point of
I
all
don't
that?
use any of them.
Well done if you've just listened to me get through all that, because the reason I've included that, I wouldn't normally talk about that in such scientific detail because Thomas is looking really glazed over, but it's the point I'm trying to get. Is there a need to go into that much detail to get the best out of your plants? Which one is better? Is it 1314? Is it 918? I've found very little scientific evidence to say with good authority which one's better. All I can say for now is that use what works well for you. Me and Thomas and the team here, we've used the majority of all PKs, and they all work well. They all do a job, don't they? I still couldn't tell you which one works best. What's your advice?
I couldn't tell you, honestly, and on art I couldn't tell you whether or not they actually do make a difference, and that's and on art, because I've used with and I've used without, and I see the same sort of things. I always go on about environment and extraction, don't I, is key, and obviously a bit of base nutrient. I think that's the fundamentals of it all. But then I also believe the science to it all as well, because the science is everything. Science is in everything that we are and will be.
If it didn't work, every company wouldn't have a PK, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Every nutrient company
but
includes
then what
PK.
I always seem to think about is, with all of this science stuff, is I think if you're going to do it scientifically, every element needs to be adhered to. If not, there's no point at all.
Yeah.
And I think that there's that many different elements and that many different factors that can give you a different answer, so to speak. Personally, with Explode, it has PK in it.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I don't seem to
look into it, yeah.
Yeah, because I never have any issues at all.
The argument that a lot of people make for using Explode, and I don't know if you'll agree with this argument, is that with PKs where you add them in just let's say week 5, which is CANNA's PK, or you start at week 3 and finish on week 7 or 8 of the flowering phase with say Budder's Tree PK, what happens if you miss a week? How much of a detrimental effect happens?
What does happen?
If you miss a week, or you perhaps put it in a week too early, or you add it a week too late, what happens is, does that mean if you miss week 5 with CANNA's PK 1314 because you've been up the wall with other stuff and you're added in week 6, what happens? With Explode, the people who use it, their argument is that we never miss our PK window because we add it a couple of weeks after flowering and we finish when we're about to flush. the plant has always got access to its phosphorus and potassium, and I've always done really well out of it. Again, it's a simple approach.
Yeah, simple approach,
and it works.
Is effective. So then, what the issue is when you do have a simple approach and it is very effective, it then leads you to question science.
Yeah.
And does all of these things, this arduous list of tasks and regimes, do they have to be adhered to? Are they so important? But then you look at it from a scientific point of view, and then the answer is clearly yeah, because science tells itself. Science
changes its opinion as well. Do you think this is a good point to have a little break from the discussion and talk about what we had a chat about with innovation or imitation? Because it's a point where we may be adding to what we said in innovation or imitation with regards to timers.
Yeah, we can do.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Well, after a discussion via Facebook...
Oh, yeah, we had a discussion via Facebook.
Yeah. It came to light that the guys at Trade Hydro didn't agree with what we were saying on our podcast with regards...
I'm only messing, boys. Don't put the phone down because I swore at you.
And they were saying they disagreed and they put it on Facebook. Now, just to reiterate, you can absolutely disagree with what we say. We are not the be-all and end-all of information in this industry. We do get it wrong sometimes.
Not that we're asked anyway.
Call us up and tell us. That's the proper way to do it. But there's going to be some good outcomes after this Facebook discussion because...
to be honest, everything we've been doing, some of the arguments that we have been getting into, we are getting into arguments over certain products and stuff, are made up because things are starting to happen and people are starting to make changes, which are what we're trying to do. Yeah. So go on, carry on, Stephen. Let's explain it.
So mine and Thomas's opinion with these single plug and grow timers was that we had quite a few back. And I mean, by quite a few, I mean a lot of plug and grow timers were coming back to the shop. We always told people never put more than one light on them because they're just not capable of running more than one light. And they were coming back to us and saying, I promise, I just only had one light, and then we'd give them a new one. And I said, put it on one light, and they'd come back and say, listen, it's just not working, I'm going to run my CFLs off it. And it's sort of, we were biased because it's what we saw in our shops in Liverpool and in Morton.
But also, a point that we picked up on as well, which is a good bit of feedback for companies, distributors, wholesalers and shops, is when we were getting our returns, we were simply putting them to the side because we have like a section where we put any returns that come back to one side, and then at the end of the week we'll call up the relative companies from where they're from and we'll send them back off to them and get a credit note or whatever. However, with these items, because they're not a high costing item, our supplier, which wasn't Plug and Grow, we were from a third party distributor, was good enough. They trust us and we have a really good rapport with them. And they would just basically say, okay, lads, how many timers have you got? And we'd say, we've got 5. And he'd say, okay, we'll just credit note you those and just put them straight in the bin. Now, we never thought nothing about that.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a long time. And we never thought nothing about it until the issue arisen the other day with the Plug and Grow. Because the downside to that is Plug and Grow think all of their timers are perfect because they never get one back off us. Because our middleman, our distributor, is basically resolving the issue, fair enough, and good on them. You can't fault them for it whatsoever.
Great customer service.
Yeah, but it's not giving the feedback to the original distributor,
the manufacturer. So bear that in mind if there's any shops that are listening. Bear this in mind that to move forward as an industry, we need to be giving people this feedback.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard sometimes. We're a busy shop and there's a lot of busy shops around the world. Sometimes you think, I haven't got time to just do this and that, but we want to all move forward within the industry, and it's vital that you give this feedback to the manufacturers.
Feedback's a really good thing as well, whether you like it or not. And feedback for us, we're a shop, we're not God, you know, we get things wrong. We sometimes cock up orders. Sometimes I'll apologise for any of you guys who on the internet and something's happened with the delivery and it hasn't arrived on time and we've had to compensate to help you guys out, I apologise. It's life.
Yeah,
get over it.
Wrong.
Don't cry and whinge like a big girl's blouse. You know, that's what it is. We're all human beings. What the funny thing is, though, is when people get a big cob on. Don't be saying that about my product. Why don't you just stop being a big pudding and listen to what we're saying? And I actually say that your product is very good. We still sell your product. We never stopped selling your product. We are giving constructive feedback as a store who is
has a voice.
Has the final point of contact from ourselves to our customer. You know, this is our customer. This is the people who pays our wages. Without a customer, me and Stephen, we wouldn't have a job, would we?
Nope.
No.
There'd be no podcast.
No podcast. There'd be no hydroponics for us.
Yeah.
And our life would be very dreary.
Yeah.
You know. So a big thank you to all our customers and even to the ones who have bought products and have brought them back. Thank you for being honest and not just putting it in the bin and not saying nothing, because we need this feedback.
Yeah.
So then it's our duty to relay it back to the distributors, but then there's a fault on our part.
Yeah.
Because
we're not doing it effectively
no,
enough.
we wasn't, and we have now changed that.
Yeah.
Also, from that, we spoke to the wholesaler.
Yeah, at Plug and Grow.
I'm going to have to bring up this point. I've got to.
Okay.
Sorry. They can gun me down on Facebook and Twitter anyway, I'm not bothered. Right, a question. As a wholesaler, a distributor, or a store owner, I asked the question, okay, are you a grower? Yes. And the answer to that question was, what has that got to do with anything? I won't even say anything further on that. That was the question, and that was the answer. I'll let you just dwell over that one for a second, when particularly you are in a hydroponics industry and you gain respect by having knowledge of a grow room or grow industry or grow environment.
Yeah.
So if you're not a grower, you're obviously a salesman.
Yeah. And you're not passionate about what you do.
Yeah.
And we're starting to touch on something, the announcement that we're going to make at the end of the podcast. A really good announcement, and you need to hang on for it.
However, we've overcome this situation. You've spoken to Plug and Grow.
We've come to a resolution.
Yeah.
The resolution is that we're going to fall back on what we know best, or what I know best, and I know Thomas backs me up, is science.
Yeah.
We made an assumption based on customer feedback.
Yes, we did.
Now, to assume, as Thomas always used to tell me, what did you used to tell me?
To assume is to make an ass out of you and me.
Put that one together and you'll see what he means. Now, we assumed, so we could have made an ass out of you and me, couldn't we?
Yeah, well, we'll take the egg. I'll take some egg on the face.
So what we're going to do, which we hadn't previously done, was do a test. The test will be run over a month.
Which is a bit strange, because we fucking tested every other bloody thing, haven't we?
I know, we just took it on face value.
Yeah,
we assumed. The reason that we got it wrong is that we didn't ask, how old is your ballast, Mr. Customer? How old is your light, Mr. Customer? Is your electricity source stable? Is it good enough? We didn't ask those three questions. And so if he had a poor performing ballast, really old one, where the amperage had gone up, an old bulb, which increases the amperage, these are all factors that could have contributed to
I hope the factors are not loopholes, Stephen.
Yes, so do I.
Okay.
But we didn't ask those questions. They are reasons that people can bring up for why something's gone wrong. So we will do a test with brand new bulbs, brand new ballasts that have sold thousands across the country, the Pro Gear ballasts, and from a warehouse electricity supply. All three factors have been taken care of.
Yeah.
The test will be conducted over a month. Plug and Grow timer to time 1 600 watt light. We use 4 of them over the month. We will be time-lapsing it to show if there's any faults, we can show it and prove it. If there isn't any faults, happy days. We are happy because that Plug and Grow timer has worked for 1 600 watt light.
Yeah, and we've got the accurate information to give to the customer.
We can go back on our Facebook group and come back onto podcast and rectify that we said all timers are a bit shit. They still are.
I don't use them personally. Yeah. I won't use them. I'll use a multiple timer with a contactor installed inside it. However, some customers only have a one light grow. Yeah. And to be honest, they are ideal for that. So long as that they are working.
My my belief is that this one single Plug and Grow timer is going to run one 600 watt light effectively with a brand new ballast, brand new bulb, good electricity supply. We're not going to have any problems with it. That's my hypothesis. Here's where it starts to get into shady waters. The back of the timer says 13 amps, 3,120 watts.
Yeah.
Now, for me and Thomas and for the grow shop owners and for people that are into what they do a little bit more than others, they will look at that and go, no, I'm not going to run 5 lights off this timer. It probably doesn't have the capacity to run 5 lights or 4 lights. 3 lights is even a little bit dodgy. So we're going to do that test. We're going to test 2 lights. I don't know what's going to happen with 2 lights. 3 lights, 4 lights and 5 lights. I believe that when it runs 3, 4 and 5, it's going to blow the contactor. 2, I'm looking forward to finding out. 1, I'm pretty good certainty that it will run that 600 watt light okay. There's the test. Now, me and Thomas are going to do that test and we're going to come back and podcast the results in about a month to 6 weeks' time.
Yeah.
The other good outcome is that Plug and Grow are looking at their labelling of their timers. So he did agree on Facebook that it can be a little bit misleading because of the different codes and brackets.
So what does Plug and Grow state the timer can do?
13 amps, 3,120 watts on the label, but they only sell it, they've only ever advertised it to run one 600 watt light.
At the end of the day, this timer is for 1 light and that is it. Okay.
They've never ever advertised it as being able to run 2, 3, 4 or 5 lights.
To be honest, I would love them to have a sticker on there. So once they change the little stickery thing, put another one on saying 1 600 watt only.
Yeah. Then we've all moved forward as an industry.
Because that's really spoon feeding the customers and then they really understand. Or just incorporate it on the box or whatever. Or just a simple sticker and we'll stick them on at the shop or whatever. We might actually even put a sticker on ourselves. That might be a good idea. Just a better understanding for the product.
Yeah.
On all parts, ourselves included.
And after all of this, after a bit of a heated debate on social media, we all come out smelling of roses because we will have done a scientific test, which makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Plug and Grow, hopefully, will come out looking really good. Labels will have been changed so that there's less returns for Plug and Grow, and they sell more timers. We do loads of testing. Everybody's happy.
Well, to be honest, it's not the first time somebody's been waving the spears at me. I forgot, didn't I, when we went to Barcelona?
Yeah.
I was walking through the show and I've seen one of my old pals, Fernand, who owns Garden High Pro.
Yeah.
Forgot that we shot a video about one of his budget line tents. So I goes up to see Fernand and I haven't seen him for a year. And he's a very outgoing person, so I normally get greeted with a big smile and a big hug. And as I goes over to see him, I see there's no big smiles or no big hugs, and basically he calls me a cunt. And I said, well, Fernand, fucking hell, mate. Why? Well, why am I a cunt? I often do get called one, like, but, what have I done, mate? And he goes, you fucker, you fucker, you fucker. And I'm like, what? I literally forgot. And he said, your video of my tent, you fucker. And I said, Fernand, what video? He said, you made the video and the zip fell off. I said, oh, sorry. Did the zip really fall off? He said, because of you, I have stopped all of these tents and look at my new tent now, top quality. And I had a look at his tent and let me tell you, they are top quality. So I turned around to Fernand and I said, well, let me shake your hand, pal, because look at this now. Look, you've went from this tent and you've went to this class 1 super duper unbreakable zip tent.
Yeah. And
not only that, I'm looking at your stand at Barcelona and it looks like one of the most expensive stands I've ever seen. So you're doing not bad, are you, pal? And he gave me a cheeky little smile and I said, what I am going to do is, because we haven't got the tent yet, and that's why I haven't done it just yet, what I'm going to do is a special episode for Fernand with the launch of his new tent. Yeah. I'm just waiting to receive one. Looks really good, top quality.
Apparently you can do pull-ups on the zips now, can't you?
Yeah, pull-ups on the zips. These zips are bomb-proof, they'll never break. So it started off with a negative, but then we ended up having a big hug and a kiss. I stuck my tongue down his ear and
Spanish smooch.
Said, I'm really pleased because we are good friends. And at any time when we do podcast, unfortunately, some of me everybody's my friend in the industry. However, my customers are my friends as well, And when we're talking about your product, we're going to pick up everybody's products at one point. I know it might be a bit harsh sometimes, but we're investigating it because we're interested, because we're selling it, because we want to stock it, because it's good, it's innovative, or whatever. If it's on our radar, it's fucking worthwhile being on our radar. Yeah. So, if we do feature one of your products and you're not happy, please contact us. We love it, because we want to speak to you. We want to get round the issues. That's what we're doing podcasts for, to innovate the products that are already out and to help everybody understand the products and how to use them properly. You know, some products are really good but have the wrong directions with them. Yeah. You know, the wrong ideas with them, or the wrong information about them. So that's what we're trying to do. We are not the be all and end all. Everything we say, take it or leave it. You know,
it's up for debate.
It's up for debate. That's what this is.
So that's a nice little interlude into
that was an interlude into me slating other people's products
and what's been happening,
and eating some humble pie at the same time.
Yeah, not taking anything back.
No, I'm not taking anything back.
Willing to do the test and to look further into the situation that we talked about in Innovate or Imitate. And if other people are pissed off, don't talk about us behind our backs, which you probably do anyway.
Yeah.
But if you're passionate about the industry and you want us all to move forward as shops, as distributors and as manufacturers, phone us up and go. First thing we want you to say is, "Hey, you bunch of bellends."
Yeah.
Because we like that.
That's how we get down.
Say, you talked about this product and I don't think you were quite right, and we'll go, explain why you don't think we were quite right, and you will explain, and then we will have a good chat and a good discussion, and hopefully either come to a resolution, do some more testing, or we can give you our point of view. It's all good.
You know what would be good to see as well? Plug and Grow to bring out the 2-light timer. Imagine that. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, that's a bit of innovation.
Yeah. At the moment, there's just the Power Stars, isn't it? Which still needs a Plug and Grow timer to run.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's loads of room to get excited and go, okay, let's just do that. But if I was electrical company person, I would pounce on that. Also, I'm going to talk about Cannatronics. Where are you, Cannatronics? John, calling John from Cannatronics. Are you out there after we launched the podcast, declaring you were back? No, you're not. You're hiding. Where are you? You're a ghost, like your products. What's going on, John? Everybody wants to know where Cannatronics is, and you know where to be found. Your phone's off. Come on, mate. Give us a ring.
Hey, if his phone's off, I doubt he's listening to us bellends shouting about it. But
well, anyway, John, if any of your pals tell you that we've been asking for you on podcast, because I've tried to phone you, mate. I've asked everybody where you are. I've asked everybody if you're okay and you're still breathing. It'd be good to know you're actually still alive and kicking it, mate, because we are quite worried. When you said you was coming back in a week and it's now 3 months later, you know, it does raise some alarm bells, buddy. But, you know, hopefully you'll be round
very shortly.
He's probably sitting in the shop waiting for us when we get back. But anyway, we're still waiting for Cannatronics to be back in the store. It's a product that I love.
A product that works and is innovating. There's some of the stuff that he's bringing out is just...
That's what I mean, Sean. You've got me excited, mate. I'm sitting here waiting for these products. And like...
we're waiting.
Yeah, we're still waiting. So, but, you know, when you do turn up, all is forgiven anyway. But my arms are always open to Cannatronics anyway, whatever the weather. You know, if you do have a 10-year holiday or whatever, I'll still love you anyway, mate. So come back.
Might have a few more grey hairs, but we'll be waiting.
I don't think you can get any more than John, mate, could you? I know I'm trying to catch you up, mate, but...
Okay, last little second half of Science versus Skeptic. Let's get back into it. Now, we're going to talk about sugar boosters. These boosters that increase plant metabolism, or say that they increase plant metabolism. You've got CANNA's Boost product.
Let's give a little list. A little list off the top of the head.
So CANNA's Boost product. You have Buddha's Tree, Meta Boost.
Explode.
Bud Candy. You have...
Floral Boost.
Boost by...
Top Heavy Crop.
See, now we see where it goes. What are we doing? It gets into sketchy waters. That's what we're trying to show. Headmaster, bit of PK in it, yeah, but it would have its sugars within it.
Ionic Boost.
Yeah, again, some of them have got PK in them, so they've got the PK Boost in inverted commas. This is where it starts to get a bit confusing. What is a boost?
What's the Italian one called again?
Boombastic, again, another one with PK in it, but it has its sugars and hardeners and all kinds in there. You've got Botanica's Hydroplex, again, it's got a bit of PK in it. Now, if we go off CANNA's definition of boosters, again, biased because their boost is their boost, but they believe that a boosting product, a true boosting product, has no nutrients within it. It is plant-based products, probably natural or organic.
Well, let me guess. CANNA's one's got no nutrients in it.
CANNA's one's got no nutrients in it. And these speed up plant metabolism, help with nutrient uptake, and increase the sugar content of the plant.
Never mind a comment from a company. What does science say a boosting product is?
So the scientific person would say that a boosting product speeds up processes within the plant.
And is that scientifically proven in our industry?
In our industry, no. Perhaps it's proven in the agricultural industry, but I have yet to see a farmer growing cabbage
it's not cost
spraying boosting sugar boosters on his cabbages or his tomatoes. If you go to these commercial facilities, and what do? They kiss. No, they don't make love to each other. They keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
That's a good acronym. That's from the army, isn't it? That's from the military, the KISS acronym. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
And that's what those guys do. They keep it simple, they get the results, and they produce the commercial growers for tomatoes and chilies and around the UK, around the world. They're interested in profit.
So all these boosters that we've got, I know I use one myself. I've used a few of them, to be honest with you, and I still continue to use one because I don't know whether I actually do believe that it does something, or it's just maybe the placebo effect.
Yeah.
Whatever the effect it is, I bloody use one.
It'd be, I think, to do that test would be very, very hard. But I believe CANNA has done the research. The CANNA boost was brought out in 2007. They spend, I imagine, millions of pounds on research and developments. They have their own research facilities. Make your research public. Let it be known that you've done the trials and that plant A grows better than plant B. I couldn't find it. It's all just documented on the CANNA website that this does this and this does this. I haven't seen any proof myself. We would love to see proof. Anyone who thinks that they can do the test, do the test. Let's blow the industry wide open and find out the pinnacle of what people add to their plants. You've got the base nutrients, but you've got to add a sugar booster because without it, your plants are nothing.
If any of you guys in the US, because I know you're killing her over there, you're just growing and growing and growing every day. If you've got any videos, images, information, data, anything that we can use on our show and we can just have a good talk about, or have you used a product and you found it to be unbelievable or unbelievably crap?
Yeah.
I don't know anything, just let us know. Get in touch and let's have a talk about it. The more interesting and more, controversial is probably the better for me.
Especially for this show as well.
Yeah.
But that's what we believe on the boosting products. If it works for you and you really think it works for you, carry on using it. If you're a bit of a skeptic, then maybe have a little dig around, do some research, talk to people. Let's find out what these boosters actually do for the plants.
Well, I skeptically changed because of dilution ratios. So what I started to pay attention to was, okay, how much am I getting per pound for this? And then what I started to see is how different companies market their product brand in certain ways. So you have one company that's got 10 bottles and splits all of the elements up, and each bottle may be only £20, but the overall total comes to X amount, and one bottle might be £180, but you've got to put 40 millilitre in, and some are 1 millilitre and stuff like that. So I basically chose a brand that had a lot of respect, had a good dilution rate, and was good on the pocket as well. And that's how I made my choice.
Well, you have very naturally moved us on to our next point.
Okay.
Thank you very much. The next point is quality, flavour, aroma, yield, price point, ease of use, and dilution rates. The point we're making is that different nutrients have been made with different growers in mind. We get the question every day, which is the best nutrient? And there isn't one.
Different horses for different courses.
Exactly. Let me give you some examples. These examples are opinions before we get started. My opinions, I should say.
He is very opinionated.
Yeah. Vitalink and Ionic are good nutrients, and they have a low price point, so ideal for those not looking to spend too much. CANNA, in my opinion, are the kings of the ease of use category, and they produce quality end product. But they are expensive, and their dilution rates would make any commercial grower wince.
Yes.
Budder's Tree and House and Garden take the crown for the low dilution rates and the quality of the end produce. Dutch Pro is very good at enhancing the weight and therefore yield. The quality is good and the dilution rates are low. But, in my opinion, again, not great for beginners because the base nutrients do need to be pH'd. They don't, say with CANNA's base nutrients, that will take your pH down to a nice 6. Dutch Pro's base nutrient doesn't have much impact on your pH, so you do have to check and make sure it's correct for the stage of growth in your plant. These are all, again, opinions, but we have no hard and fast evidence on what's what. Bear this in mind, there's only so many sources of raw materials and what can be included in a nutrient range. Some people say it's just salty water. I believe that the manufacturers get their ingredients from probably not very many sources, but some manufacturers choose to use the high grade raw materials. Some manufacturers probably choose to go with low grade.
Don't they, within the company?
But there's only so much you can put in a bottle at the end of the day. It's plant food.
Yeah.
Bear that in mind. It's only 20% of the big horticultural steering wheel. So, what's your view, this simple skeptic?
Well, for me, right, it's simple. You keep it simple. So, I'm not going to go out and buy every top of the range nutrient and every bottle on this range, which has 10 plus bottles. I'm going to go and buy a base feed, which has got a good dilution ratio, which is a good price to begin with.
Yeah.
Maybe a 10 litre set.
Yeah.
Around between £50-60, which is normally about $80-90 or something.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm going to pick a single part nutrient, which is a cocoa A and B. The benefits from this is you use it from start to finish. So you don't have to change up and mix up with all different bottles and ratios and stuff like that.
Oops, I'm still using Grown Week for a flower.
Yeah, which is a common problem. Then all you need to determine from this is the EC level from grow to flower, which is very simply explained on a grow chart. And then you can just add your additive. Now, which for me is a sugar PK booster. I wouldn't use the rest of all of the range because I don't see the need in having to use every bottle on this range just because it's got a title.
Yeah.
I see what my plant needs, and my plants always seem very lush green with a nice silky sheen across them. So I will then use Explode with a dilution rate of 1 ml a litre. It has PK in it, so I never forget to PK.
Yeah.
And the results are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Sometimes I think these companies advertise and market to the grower.
Yeah.
Like these bottles that have tomatoes driving F1 cars and all that sort of stuff, that is to get the grower to buy the product. I wonder if they'd have spent that money from getting somebody to draw the cartoon and get the labels printed and all that sort of stuff on a bit more research, could the product have been any better? The product I'm talking about, by the way,
know, it's all sales and marketing.
Yeah.
And these companies are all constantly fighting to get more and more sales.
It just so happens that that product I'm talking about with the tomato driving the F1 car is Advanced Nutrients Overdrive. It does work really well. From observational studies, again, there's no science behind it.
Observational, but
and that's all. To conclude this sort of science versus skeptic on nutrients, that's what we would want to get to the bottom of. 99% of everything that people talk about is observational. Yeah. There's no real hard and fast science behind it. If there is, we can make more astute purchases. We can have better quality plants at the end of it, and we can move our industry forward into a new realm of less marketing and more science.
As a skeptic, I could easily argue that the science behind all of this is a load of higgledy-piggledy nonsense. But then, as being a skeptic, I could also argue that science is very, very important, and without it, none of this would materialise, i.e. environmental control. We know the temperatures and humidity levels, and we know the plant cycles and how much they transpire and stuff like that. So it would be a bit naive, I suppose, to presume that all nutrients were not created with science in mind.
Yeah.
So, skeptically, there's for and against. However, as a simplicitist, if that's a word.
I've made it up, it is a word.
It's a good word, I'm keeping
a simplicitist.
It's not easy to say, it's not simple to say.
I know, we've made that hard.
We turned this simple word into a science. But as a simplicist, I would always go for an easier approach, which can give me a good result at the end. It's not good using a simple approach, i.e. I can't be arsed watering them plants because they'll be dead and you'll have nothing left. I'm not talking that simple. What I'm saying is find your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Find what you're happy in. You know, if you're a person like me who is a bit thick sometimes and can't read the in-depth stuff that Stephen was talking about before, you know, you don't want to spend too much time on that because it's going to hinder your development and growth. So basically, if you're in the wrong learning environment, it's going to hinder you and your plant. So all I'm trying to say is, if you're a simple type of person, stay simple. If you're a scientific type of person, get down the shop and we'll endlessly give you hours and hours and days of constant
research and time and education.
And podcasts.
I will say, very regrettably, that I think skepticism is 1-0 up because in today's market, skepticism is going to take you far. Unfortunately, we're not in the position where science has won this argument. Hopefully it will do. It'll take a long time for science to come out and say that's our goal for the next few years, is get science to dominate. But have a healthy amount of skepticism will take you far in this industry. Whether you're a shop owner, whether you're a grower, whether you're a manufacturer or a distributor looking to buy in lots of products, a good bit of skepticism will take you far. And that is the end of Science versus Skeptic. We hope you enjoyed it. There was a little bit more that we were going to talk about, but we don't want to bore you too much. And we do want to make our announcement at the end of the podcast as well. So this is the end of the podcast.
So thanks for listening to Science versus Skeptic. I hope you enjoyed it.
Give us some feedback. If you hated it, please let us know.
Oh, please, just phone us up and say, boys, that was fucking crap. Hey, what are you talking all this shit for?
We enjoy it. We like your feedback. And if it was good, do let us know as well. It's good so we can promote this field of discussion even more. I'm all talked out, Thomas. Leave me alone. Right, announcement. Now, this is the big one. This is what you've all been waiting for.
I can hear the boots quaking now. Controversy.
Me and Thomas were having a chat over the last few days and not talking about any discussions we've had on Facebook with regard to Plug and Grow Timer. You are not included in this, so don't get the hump on. We're not talking about you. But other discussions that I have been having on social media, it seems to me that there are two groups of people in the hydroponics industry.
Sounds a bit like a stereotype.
Yeah.
I love a stereotype.
The people that are passionate about what they do, the growers, the cultivators, the beginners and the advanced growers, the people who do it for a living and just love what they do.
Yeah.
You can spot them a mile away because you're just engrossed in what they're saying and you respect what they say and what they do. They're a pleasure to be around. Hopefully, myself and Thomas and the NPK team are in that band camp. And you've got the other side, though. The Darth Vader music, please, Rick.
Yeah, we want Darth Vader.
The people in our industry solely here to make a profit.
Yeah.
The people who don't grow plants.
Who wear pointy shoes, pants with the seams ironed into them, them ties. Yeah. All of yous talking about you sale people.
People that don't really give a shit
and
about
if you've
plants.
Got a briefcase as well.
Yeah, don't come here with a briefcase.
Do not come to our shop with a briefcase.
The people that have put their toe into our industry thinking that they can jump in, make a few bucks, and then sod off onto the big cruise boat and just leave us here.
Yeah, we're just sitting here drinking margaritas and that because their sales team have got 1.2 million sales targets on the board, and they need to promote this new product. They don't even know what it does, but they just need to promote it because it's a sale.
And it makes them lots of money.
We're not interested in you guys, and we're going to sift you out.
We are.
Cull you out.
And we're actually publicly declaring war against all of you.
We're declaring it right now. We want to have it against you. We're going to have it fisticuffs. I'm rolling up my sleeves right now, and we're going to damage you physically, permanently, physically, mentally. We're going to damage you. We're going to come for you. We're going to gun you down.
Yeah.
So let's have it.
This is going to take place on social media, publicly as well.
Yeah.
We're going to hunt the people down that we feel are just out to make a profit. You know who you are because you don't give a shit about grown plants.
Yeah.
You don't give a shit about the end consumer.
We're going to get you good though. We're going to stitch you right up. I'm going to record you. I'm going to film you. And I'm going to put you onto social media. I'm going to show every one of our customers what your company is really about. So, all these big brands that everyone's been led down the garden path by, I'm going to open you up for attack. I'm going to show what your company is internally.
Decide which camp you're in. You will know, because you will know whether you have an honest, passionate interest in horticulture and hydroponics and moving us all forward into a new era of hydroponics, or you will know that you've got a 10-year plan and you aim to make as much money as possible and then just sod off into the sunset.
We're going to help destroy that 10-year plan.
And we're only a small shop. Yeah. There's only a couple of us.
No, stay with the people's shop. We are the people.
That's the difference.
It's not us that's going to do this. It's the listeners.
Small shop in bricks and mortar.
Yeah. But it's the people who listen. Because we just give the information out. That's all we're doing. We're just... What's that? WikiLeaks?
WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
We're HydroLeaks.
Yeah, HydroLeaks. So that's what we're going to do. We just want to give you guys some background information on these companies you've been so loyal to over the years. Well, unfortunately, we're going to show you what their company's really about and what their ethos is. So stay tuned for that one for the next coming weeks.
And months and years, because it's going to be our lifetime obsession to filter out all the people that just want to make profit.
Yeah.
And before people start getting giddy about themselves, we all make a profit. That we are all businesses.
We couldn't sit here if we didn't make a profit.
That is all. That is a goal. Is an end outcome, but it's
our
not.
Passion is hydroponics.
It's not what we're here for. I don't get up out of bed because of money. I get up out of bed every morning, and I've never had a sick day. Thomas can account for that. And I love my job. We are passionate.
Yeah.
You're either on our team or you're not on our team. Make your choice. Thank you for listening to NPK Live. We hope we've cheered up your Sunday.
Yeah.
If you're passionate, we have. If you're a profit maker, you haven't. Take it easy, guys.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.